welcome back to the end of another week. For us, this one has been a doozy, and to start the story, I guess, I'm gonna take you back to earlier this week. Hey, so welcome to a little snippet of what's happening this week. It is not the end of the week, but I'm gonna start with this because Francis arrived this morning. It's Wednesday, and this entire room was flooded because it was literally raining from the ceiling, and I'll put some photos in of that he took when he arrived. You can still see the drips that are coming down. We still have buckets out. He sucked up 2 entire canisters of water from this room. Thankfully, the walls don't look too bad. This wall definitely has some water coming down, so you can kind of see how the wallpaper is starting to buckle. So, yeah, that really sucked. And I'll take you upstairs and show you what happened. All right, so upstairs, you can see evidence of the water leak, and it came from the water heater because our intake, the water comes in through this pipe, and I don't know exactly what this white thing is, but it's obviously not supposed to be completely open like that. So something happened and it exploded, and basically we had literally a gusher of water coming out of this space. So we've cleared out all the insulation. I mean, we've cleared out all of the like wool fiberglass stuff away from the area to help it dry. This board was down on the floor, which was covering this hole, and I think that that's actually where a lot of the water ended up going, because as you can see, the water damage is pretty well delineated, so it stays like kind of in this little space that I'm in. And with this hole, obviously, that's an easy spot for water to go down. And as you can see as well, this hole is full of insulation, and it's hard to really tell because it's dark, but this insulation pretty much acts like a sponge. So if I squeeze this, you can see that there's water that's just like it's soaked. So at this point, I know that we should basically rip up all these floorboards, take out the insulation, and replace it. Obviously, we're not happy about that choice. So I'm waiting to talk to Francis and we'll see what happens. But yeah, welcome to Wednesday. So we went ahead and opened up some holes in the attic floor and took out all the insulation so that that space could go ahead and air dry as best as possible. And unfortunately, by Thursday, it was very, very obvious that there was quite a bit of water damage to the floor down in the bedroom. So we begrudgingly decided to go ahead and pull that up, and it was a good thing we did because under the floor was still quite a bit of water. So the dehumidifiers are doing their work to go ahead and remove all of that. But ultimately, we decided that would probably be safest just to remove all of those linoleum tiles, and that is what we ended up doing. So fast forward to today, the end of the week, and the bedroom that was almost done is now obviously not. So we've had the dehumidifier going, and that's been collecting water. We actually set up a second one as well because there's still quite a bit of moisture in here. We did receive all of our IKEA stuff for the closet, but now the closet has turned into basically a staging ground for the new floor that's going to be going into this room. So here we have the, that is going to be the water moisture barrier. So that goes down first. Then this is a sound thermal insulation layer. These are the boards that we picked out, and hopefully we're keeping the same baseboards since they're literally brand new and Francis had just cut them for this room. So we're hoping to basically be able to reuse those and put those back. So right now the room is down to literally the original concrete. It's actually kind of interesting because as I was taking up the vinyl, if I can find a spot, there were a couple of spots. Oh, here's one. So actually underneath is like the dirt. It's actually just a very, very thin or relatively thin layer of concrete over dirt. Seemingly so. Obviously, we are not jackhammering this up to figure out what's underneath. But in the meantime, our like litmus test, so to speak, are the plaster boards. We're basically touching them, and if they're very cool, there's probably still some moisture in them, plus the color. So like here, it's quite warm and obviously very, very white. But at this point it kind of changes color, but it also changes temperature, and it becomes like a little kind of cold and moist. So it seems like most of the moisture is still around this area. It's kind of difficult too because it's pouring rain almost every day now, so there's just generally a lot of moisture. So at some point we're going to call it a day and start putting the floor in. But in the meantime, this is where this room is at now, which is a huge step back from where it was just last week. But let me take you upstairs and I'll show you what's happening up there. Okay, so upstairs we have the attic. As you can see, it's still moist, but it's much, much, much drier than it was before. We are also waiting for all of this moisture to dry up before we do much of anything up here. You can see in here, basically, we have the floor to the attic. We have an insulation layer, and then this is the ceiling to downstairs. So it's very, very thin, and this is that funky wood ceiling that you see in the bedroom downstairs. So basically this was the original hole, and I think what happened was that most of the water actually came into here because it existed and then proceeded to flow into the bedroom. But because of the insulation that was here and the water heater being kind of there, like most of the insulation in here got very, very wet. So we kind of strategically popped some holes in the floor. We've pulled out all the insulation. We're leaving it kind of open to the elements to air dry as best possible. For the time being, the water heater's been moved here. So yeah, there's all kinds of funkiness happening in here just to keep the water warm downstairs. But the plan is to go ahead and we're actually going to kind of repair the floor here and fix all these holes. And then we'll be putting these planks. I think we've decided that we're going to put like 2 or 3 this way, as well as 2 or 3 this way, to kind of really reinforce the area and distribute the weight over the beams. There's a wall beam that's going around here, and there's another beam that goes kind of along here, and then there's several like cross cross braces. So you can kind of see one of the cross braces right there. There's several of them, roughly around like 18 inches apart. So by creating kind of a square-ish platform here, we'll kind of distribute the weight of this giant tank over a bigger surface area. We're also getting like a reservoir catchment type tub, I guess, to put the water heater into. And so that way, if there's a leak or something happens in the future, it will catch in the reservoir before it goes everywhere else. So at least we're trying to learn from the situation and make it better. I mean, ideally, the water heater wouldn't be up here, but just because of the space and the fact that there's plenty of space up here, it kind of makes sense that they decided to put the water heater up here. We don't want to get into the plumbing and everything, so we're leaving it here, but that is the plan. And let me go ahead and show you what else is happening in the house. So despite the setbacks earlier in the week, we've managed to get a coat of paint in this room. It still definitely needs more because the old colors are shining through still, but at least it's been started. In the toy room as well, we've got a first coat going in this room. So these rooms didn't really need too much work, which is why we kind of left them till last. We are planning on keeping the baseboards in here, so this room really just needs paint. Needs some work in here. Today, Francis cut the big hole so that we could mount the ventilation, the heating from the chimney downstairs. The hot air will come out there. And here is where, so the hot air from downstairs comes here, and then this is our new tube. So we'll put a Y here so that one vent will exhaust into this room, and then whatever leftover air is available will exhaust into the toy room. So yeah, let's go down and see what's happening downstairs. Downstairs, the tile guy has mapped out what's happening under the sink. Francis is continuing to work on the door here, and we've pivoted and moved into my room. So my room now has the lights up. Francis has gone through and fixed all of the walls. I gave the floor an initial clean, and we are basically going to be doing wallpaper in this space. So Francis will probably start working on that this week while we continue to wait for the bedroom to dry after the fiasco. We did have the guy come and talk to us about the wallpaper, so he's really happy with the state of the walls in this room. However, he is not able to start the work until January. So we're on the wait list, and hopefully wallpaper will be sometime in January. And other than that, we're just waiting for the room to dry. We'll be wallpapering my room. Hopefully the tile guy will come back this week and finish the under sink thing, as well as in the kitchen. We received our backsplash tiles. So actually, if I take you over here, we have them out on the table here. So basically, we're just having these semi-textured tiles, but then there's a set of these kind of embossed leaf tiles. So those will be intermixed with the plain tiles, and the tiles will basically go under here and then along there and along here and terminate in this corner. So yeah, so tile guy is coming back to work on that, finish the closet in the bedroom, finish this space, finish the tiles up in the toilet room upstairs. And we are basically just working on little pieces of finishing work here and there. And eventually, I think middle of December, we have the chimney guy coming to sweep the chimneys. And that's about it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.